It's NASCAR time on Prime Sports Network. That means Eric Smith from RaceReviewOnline.net joins me. How's it going, Eric?
Doing well. Got back in the June. Now we're out of the month of May flow. Now we can settle back in again before a finally much needed off week next week. So yes, been doing well.
Yeah, double duty. That's rare these days on Sunday.
Yep.
And also, I was like, wait a second. All right, so things were going so well when they had the IndyCar and NASCAR on Sunday. And I'm like, why in Ohio? It was Ohio, right?
Michigan. For IndyCar?
Why in Michigan, Eastern time? Why are they racing at the same time as NASCAR?
The big thing this year was, I got that question asked a lot over the weekend, and it's not ideal. The only problem was last year, if you remember right, the French Open window.
Oh, I don't want to hear about the French Open. Nobody cares about the French Open.
No. They got prime.
And that's over by 12 o'clock anyway.
They IndyCar with their agreement, which this is what I'm actually going to write about here in a little bit. So IndyCar got out of their contract, I think it was 13 races or 14 races on Network NBC. For whatever reason, they didn't choose this one to be on it, which is you think they would with a week after 500. You want this on Network NBC, not USA.
And that NBC had the French Open.
NBC had the French Open window until 2 o'clock. And so...
Yeah, but they're showing doubles past 12 o'clock. Nobody cares about that.
No. And unfortunately...
What a great carryover that is. French Open, IndyCar racing. Hello.
Even if you have to start at 2 o'clock, it's better than 3:30. And what ended up happening was they moved some women's golf tournament from USA to NBC, and IndyCar took over on NBC. And it's like,
US
man,
Open. So the women's US Open was where?
It started off on USA, and then at 3 o'clock window when IndyCar started, they moved the women's US Open over to Network NBC, so basically NBC had the French Open and the women's US Open, and IndyCar was on USA.
Well, how about this? How about we get the French Open till 12, and at 12 we've got IndyCar, and at 3 o'clock we have the women's US Open. What a great day!
Makes too much sense. Whoever did the window to have the French Open till 2 is the problem, I guess. That is what basically essentially bumped IndyCar off.
Redo that contract, because all you have to do is send that audience when the men's final's over, send them to USA.
Send them to USA, yes.
Or is the Tennis Channel still exist? Send it there.
Exactly.
You know?
And I don't follow tennis much anymore. Is it even that popular anymore?
Honestly, this is the least amount I followed it as well. It's the same thing happened with COVID to me with the NBA. And even baseball a little bit happened to me with tennis, because it's become a very elite sport. It's like, I don't want to hear it. And then all these rules, and they were playing these great majors with nobody in the stands. It was just so, get out of here. I don't even forget it. I mean, I'm just...
Yeah, I don't even... I used to like tennis. I have nothing against it. And like Agassi and Sampras and Boris Becker, like I know tennis. I used to like it. Now it's like, I don't know. Is Nadal and Djokovic even still playing?
Nadal keeps winning the French Open. That's how bad it is. It's like he's won like 13 straight French Opens.
Oh, geez. So you might as well, don't put that on NBC until, like, they make that in the because this is what happened. And I kind of got grilled a little bit by people, and then they actually ended up agreeing with me. Last year, IndyCar at Belle Isle was on NBC and was supposed to start at 12:30. Well, the damn French Open wouldn't end, and they bumped IndyCar to NBCSN for the first 40 laps because they just kept playing extra sets. And people were mad. Like, well, where's the IndyCar race? And I'm like, you should bump the French Open. Your window is till noon. And if you can't get that done in a 4-hour window, bump it. Just bump it to a new network. Well, I think that's maybe scared IndyCar off. Was like, well, at least we could start on USA because get bumped again, and they extended the window to 2 o'clock. And it's like, and I didn't watch a single second of it, so I can't tell you if that thing got over before 2 and they did a bunch of commentary after or what. But yeah,
it's still a lot better than 3:30.
Yeah, because you're going head to head against NASCAR, and people are like, well, why can't NASCAR and IndyCar work this out? And it's like, well, I don't think this is a NASCAR problem because all their races start at 3:30.
Because they're idiots. They keep starting all their races in the middle.
They don't listen, and if you look, and I saw it here, I can tell you right now, the rating for the IndyCar race, get an IndyCar race, a prime post Indy 500. Do you want to take a guess of how many fans they got watching that race on USA?
On USA, 500,000. I don't know.
Less.
What?
354,000 people tuned in. A .23 rating.
Well, that's just terrible.
For your NASCAR on FS1, 2.5 million.
And
so there you go.
What about tennis?
I only have the racing one. I haven't seen it. I was going to look it up because I was going to write an article about how you cannot go from Indy 500 to your next race and get 354,000 people watching it. That's it.
Next year, with this race gone, does that mean they're taking off a week with no more Belle Isle?
They're moving it to downtown Detroit.
Oh, so they're still going to go right into it, right after the 500.
Yeah, I would presume they'd go straight to it. And Penske owns the rights, like the Belle Isle. From Detroit, he's the one, the promoter this race. So, because I wrote that in my 5 burning questions last week, was should we go to a Belle Isle, a street course race in Detroit a week after Indy? Should you go somewhere that moves the needle more? And that proves my point. 354,000 viewers, like that's all. The people that watched the race was the amount of people basically that came to the Indy 500. It's like, look how much of a nosedive.
What was the ratings last week in the Indy 500?
For almost 5 million, like 4.7 million. So you lost 4.4 million viewers.
That's just crazy. They deserve it.
In 1 week.
That's it.
Yep. That shows.
What they get.
You almost need to start looking like USA. Like, don't go to USA because most people these days, let's be honest, stream. And like, I know I have Hulu. You have to scroll. It's all alphabetized to the very bottom to even find USA. How many people are like, screw this? I'm not scrolling to find.
Shouldn't
the
they
IndyCar.
have like promos, like once you open your Hulu app for the day, that shows you like some big events?
Usually it groups it, but I don't know where IndyCar was grouped because I was covering the race. So I don't know. I can't speak for it because I didn't have it like live during it, but I just know that a .23 rating for your week, literally the week after the Indy 500, is not good. That is not good growing your series. Part of it being on USA. I think that's a huge part of it because most of the races on NBC were getting almost 1 million views. And that's just abysmal. And even the rating for the Indy 500, and I called this out, wasn't great. The Indy 500 got a terrible rating. 4.7 million people watching it when there's over 5 million last year is, you can't go backwards. It's like, what are you going backwards for? Every other race was getting at least bigger. And I had theories on that. It's because NBC, a lot of people look at as a great partner for IndyCar because they're putting all these races on network TV. But my big thing with it, because this year's 500, which was a disappointment to me too, is you had Elio, who won the fourth 500 the year before. He's going for record 5. Okay. Jimmy Johnson, Romain Grosjean, Scott Dixon, the fastest pole speed ever in the Indy 5. You had all these storylines. I mean, it was right there. And to me, it flopped. It's like, why aren't people watching? And I think a big part of it is when you have every practice and qualifying was only on network TV for 2 hours, if it's all behind a paywall on Peacock, you're not getting the attention. The common fan doesn't know. If you can get some practice and qualifying on NBC, then great, because that'll help. But yeah, IndyCar, they've got some work to do on the TV. Granted, they just signed that new deal last year, but this isn't off to a good start when your Indy 500 rating goes backwards and the race after the Indy 500 gets 354,000. If you want to be a major player, that's not good. That 354,000 is not good.
Well, again, that's pretty much what that's why you either skip the week if it's an issue, because I'd rather just not do it. If that's going to be your ratings, if that's what you have to, if you have to put the event on USA the week after the Indy 500, then just hold off another
week.
Wait
a week. Yeah. Because wait a week, go to NBC because you're 354,000. Let's be honest, that's your diehards. Those people are going to come back anyway, no matter what.
Yeah.
You're not after those people because you already have those people. You need to grow, and that tells you that even off of a normal race on NBC that would get, let's just say, an average of 1 million, you basically lost 650,000 viewers just off that, and you lost. Granted, the Indy 500 again wasn't a strong group, but 4.7 million people watched it. You had a loss of 4.4 million people from one week. Yeah. Literally 1 week.
They deserved it.
That's a problem.
Nope.
But NASCAR, 2.5 million.
What was the rating for NASCAR? Strong. What is their average this year?
I'll look. It's got to be in the 2s or 3s.
So they were averaged on Sunday. That was an average rating.
But you got to – that was on FS1, not Fox. Sure. For FS1 to get 2.5, I bet you that was one of the better FS1 races for viewership. Yeah. Because usually in FS1, they're like 1 million, 1.2 million. They don't get a lot of ratings on FS1. Usually it's the big network is where you – but for FS1 to get 2.5 million in that sold-out crowd, good for them. They did it right.
I bet you next year, though, the ratings have got to drop because that was clearly the boringest race of the year. Now, good for the fans that showed up, and it's great, sort of like what we talked about with the dirt race, but more of the ratings as opposed to the fans showing up. That, hey, this is great. Look at the fans. And the ratings were fine. Well, we're coming back. Nobody wants to watch that. I mean, that's just watching Joey Logano try to pass Kyle Busch in those last 20 laps. It was just so excruciating. It's like, come on, this is terrible. This is like the old days, last year. This is what we were watching. It reminded me of a smaller Pocono. That's what it really reminded me of.
Yep. Well, and it shows, too, that, and I've said this a lot about NASCAR races, it's funny how an end-of-race caution can skew, because a lot of people I've seen like, oh, this is a great race. No, you saw a great ending in overtime.
Great race.
You neglected the first 95% of the race. That was terrible. And people saying, I was reading people's comments, and it's like, I don't know if that was a great race when you see you like the ending is what you liked. But you can't ignore the fact that it was a blow. Basically, I guess in a stick and ball sports, it was a blowout game until the team got hot in the final 3 minutes, and then you say that was a great game, but you neglected the first 3/4 of it. So that kind of, it's like, what worries me, and I've already got this pre-written for in a couple weeks, we'll get to the halfway point of the season. And my main point of this article is NASCAR needs to fix this car on short tracks. And this one is classified as a short track because it raced like one. Phoenix kind of was a dud. Richmond was a dud. Martinsville was definitely a dud. And now Gateway, for 95% of it, was a dud. Our final 2 races this year, Martinsville, Phoenix. Look what our product has been so far. Are we going for most a year? I think we can say this next-gen car has produced. We've had some good racing. The short tracks of all places are the ones that have not produced. Our final 2 races are on short tracks. Are we going to have a great year and end on the dud? Because are we going to get that artificial caution at the end of Phoenix? Our whole season and complexity is going to change off of a caution again. Is that what we're going to?
Well,
because that's.
But you know how WWE it is anyway with the last race. Yep. The top 4 are going to be at the end.
Top 4.
That's still, of course, we wanted them on a better track, and it's still more exciting if we had it somewhere else. But still, it's just the whole thing is just almost a gimmick. But yeah, what do they do? What's the solution on the short tracks?
They've got to find something. Yep, you've got to find something on short tracks to make this better because everywhere else is good. That tells me you can pass. Here's the key: can you not pass if there's not much room? Is that the issue? These tracks aren't big enough. The intermediates, I'm like, hell, Vegas, Kansas, Charlotte, you can pass again. You couldn't pass in the old car, but those are bigger tracks. Is this a byproduct of the tracks now? And this car is just not correlating well with the track? Because at some point, you got all these guys, they're good drivers. It's hard to pass somebody when the cars are all good and equal. And is it the shifting? Do we need to somehow get these gearing and RPMs where you don't have to shift. Is that what's called? I don't work in NASCAR to know the fix. I write about the fix and the solutions they come with, but as we sit here in June, I think we can address there needs to be something that needs to happen, because at the end of the year, we can't have this. And I also don't want to see a race construe. Like, what if that was the championship? What if Kyle Busch was on his way to winning the championship and Kevin Harvick fluke wrecking at 3 to go, 4 to go, completely alters the course of a champion? Like, I don't want to see that. That's not fair.
Yeah,
I don't want to see a race altered that way.
At that point, it did. Even though Logano, you kind of felt he was going to get close to Kyle again. It was like, okay, he's probably going to have to wreck him because he just can't pass him. And so that, it could have happened. It wasn't like he had a big lead, and it looked like Logano was using like maybe a lap to kind of every lap, like if he would attempt it and then he'd use another lap to kind of gear up again. And then it was just really hard to watch. But then the caution comes out and then you kind of felt, well, was that good or not? I mean, Logano, he was getting kind of close, but then obviously when the caution comes out and then Joey gets the lead, and once he opened up even the smallest of leads, you knew it was over. That's it.
It was gone. Yeah, I saw that inning. I'm like, he's gone. Yeah. Kyle's not getting back to him. Kyle was close. I'm like, Logano had a better car at that point. But again, that goes to show the guy with the better car couldn't pass the car in front of him until that caution.
Not good.
That is a problem. You should be able to pass. But that's a short track. Now we go to a road course. So let's see the road course in Coda. Hey, that was a street fight with Chastain and Reddick
fun.
And Bowman.
Yeah.
As Sonoma's notorious in the past been kind of just a follow the leader parade pit stop strategy. What happens this time around? Does this new car help that? Because if this new car helps this, then it's short tracks. Short tracks would be the problem, and that's something that needs to be fixed.
Well, yeah. So at least the road course that we've had this year was exciting. So maybe it is. Yeah. Maybe if we get a good race on Sunday, it will be just the short tracks and not a combination. But so far, so good as far as the road courses. Before we get started, I did want to take a shout out to one of our viewers, Randy Fisher, who talked about how much he liked the show, which we appreciate. But he was also wondering about the Patreon subscription and what you get for it. So if anybody out there is listening, what you do is, well, first of all, you can go to our patreon.com/PrimeSN, go to that account up on, and we have a link to it on the channel. Yeah. So it's very easy to find. And you can check out, there's just one tier we have right now. It's a $10 tier. Now, what I'm saying at this point, since it's the beginning of putting this together, that look, it's a $10 tier. We appreciate what you can afford. We understand the times are tough. So if you're like, you know what, I'd like to do it, but I can only afford $5 a month, and let us know on the channel. Say, look, can you create a $5 tier? Because I'll do it for $5. I can't do it for 10. I'll put that together for you. So, the $10 tier is just because obviously there's a lot of extras there. It takes a little bit of extra time for Eric. There's a whole bunch of good stuff that you get for that price. But I understand if you can't afford it, just let us know. The main thing is we want you to enjoy the content. So we want you to become a member. So just check. And by the way, you can check out on the previous show that we did, the recap for last week's race. The Coca-Cola 600, I actually responded to Randy and put together a whole big, a detailed account of what you get for the $10. So this way you don't even have to go to the Patreon page if you don't want to. Just reference back to the description area of last week's show. All right. So anyway, that's what we're doing as far as Patreon. And again, by the way, it's right there up on the screen on our template, patreon.com/PrimeSN. So you can't link that button, but at least you know where you're going.